We need to get these parts off with the switches and the pots. Simple enough to do, it's just remove these 4 screws. There's a connection down there, pull off connection there, and one down here. And there you go. Got your PCB connectors, and then we've just got a single connection down here, which hopefully we can just disconnect, put that to one side, and now we have complete access. We can find out why the power button's not working, and hopefully give these pots a clean, check for any dry joints. It's not going to be the easy thing to get into. It looks like this is the main power switch, and somebody's been in here before and they've just bridged the contacts. So let's see if we can get him off. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to dismantle this, but we'll have a look. Let's see if we can clean the contacts in it. To gain access to them, I basically just need to take this screw out here, this screw out here, then this whole PCB with the switches should lift off. Let's have a look at desoldering this switch. Okay, I think we've got that. I think we need to bend these lugs. And we should be able to get it off then. Let's just bend them out a little bit. It's mainly those back too, really. Okay, so we've got him loose. It's definitely not soldered to the board anymore. Now you've got to work out so we can prise him up. And he seems to be going up like that. Okay, so we've got the switch out. And there's the switch. And it says on the back, Toco S201. So do we try dismantling it? Or do we look for a replacement? Gonna have to do a bit of googling. It seemed to dismantle it. And pull the spring back. Take this little clip out. And this whole thing seems to slide down. And the other side you have some contacts. Maybe if I try cleaning those up. I'll try cleaning up inside there. Might do the job. We'll have a go. Okay, I managed to pull it apart. There's 2 little springs, this clip. It was on the top. That's where I pulled it apart. Hopefully I can clean the contacts inside there. I don't think it's supposed to come off like this, but I think that this cap should have come off the top. But just give me the option to try and clean it. And then with those tiny little springs, push them back into the onto there. Hopefully we can get it working again. Alright, put the switch back together. Just going to do a quick continuity test. Centre pin to the bottom pin, continuity. And to the top pin, nothing. Press the switch. Okay. And now continuity to the top pin, which we should have, which shows it's on. And there should be nothing on that pin. That's fine. Let's try the other side. Yep. Perfect. I'm just going to test all the rest of the switches just using the meter. I'm going to resolder all the contacts and clean up this board a little bit. Well, everything else on this board seems to be okay. This unit has been opened up before. Maybe that's why some of the wires weren't on connectors and needed soldering, I don't know. Maybe that's why the belt wasn't on properly. Who knows? But yeah, we're definitely going to clean up these contacts anyway. Well, I've got it all back together. Switch seems to work quite nice. The contacts are clean. Screwed it back to the main chassis. And next thing to do really is just give these pots a clean. Should just the contact cleaner should help. I mean, there's nothing wrong with these three anyway. It's mainly the volume control knob that got the gritty. I might even change that out actually. It's not a particularly nice pot if you look at them. I don't know whether that one has been changed. This is like an open case type one. These seem a little bit new, but this one just seems a little bit cheap for the main volume control knob. So I might change that out. Don't know. I'll test it first anyway. I do like to keep things original. So these parts all back together. Put the screws back in. Just take that screw off. This mechanism drops out. Easy to work on then. Bent the lugs back over on the power switch. Give it a little bit of a lubrication. Seems to work okay now. I mean, the other option is there's 3 buttons down there which are the same type. And if you're not likely to use the microphone or this beat cancel, or the mono stereo button, there is the option to actually change those over, because these work independently of the contact switching. Like these ones affect each other obviously with a cam, but these are independent. So there is the option of that to change one of these three for the original power switch, but I've gone with repairing the power switch at the moment. I'll see how that lasts out. I'll cycle it a few times and give it a test before we put it all back together. But I think that concludes all the work I can do on that for now, other than testing the pots. And I think next is have a look at cleaning up the radio section. The main output, looks like the main output power amps just here. From the very cheapy, nasty power supply. I think this is the voltage regulator for it, which isn't brilliant, but it's there I suppose. So, yes. Oh well, I forgot to say, when you're taking out these 4 screws, there's also a screw there, and also right on the end there, another one here that you need to take out. For some reason I forgot to mention those 2, but they're just the same size screws as these. So to remove this whole front, it's just that dunk. So it's 6 in total. And the next thing obviously is I'm going to take some of the caps off and check them. It's a big job to do a complete cap recap on this. I don't know if I want to go that far with it, to be honest. So I might just test some of the caps. And our next job is going to be the cassette mechanisms. So I'm going to get, I think I'm going to take this side out, because I've got to do this one because the belt's not attached anyway. Work out how that, I'll get that underneath the motor. I'm going to take the whole mechanism out, I think. It might make life easier. I can actually then see how I can get the belt underneath this motor. I can probably just feed it with a pair of tweezers, to be honest, from here. It does look like a can. And this is held on with a screw there, and there's one on the side here, so it might be easy if the whole thing's out. I'm going to have a quick look at getting the cassette motor out. There's only 4 screws. There's one there, there's one down here, one over here, and one here. The only thing you might have to do is, I found that this wire here had been glued down the back there, which travels from this switch to the motor. So you might have to just unpeel the glue to get to that point. But let's get those screws out and then hopefully we can just lift this whole thing out. Now, hopefully, we should put a little bit of play in it. To lift this out, I think it's just these switches here. Oh, there we go. And that's out. And not looking too pretty. Time for a clean. Oh, decided I'm going to take the motor off, just to have a quick check on that. It's held on by 3 screws. There's one there, and one on the side here. I don't know why, but they've used flathead screws. But I want to get the belt off, so I've got to. There's a plate over the capstan as well, which I need to take off. So we'll start by just taking these screws out. It'll give me a chance to test the motor independently. So that's your motor assembler. And as you can see here now, on the capstan, I've got to take that screw off, and then I should hopefully be able to feed the belt. Yep, you can just lift that, so that's fine. So let's get the belt off. Try not to break it. Sorry about the hands. There's the belt. I'll get you a measurement of. Taking the belt out the 8060, the approximate dimensions, the belt could have stretched. It could be 100mm for all I know, but folded length is approximately 105mm. The width is about 2.7mm, and the thickness is about 0.56 of a millimetre. And that was all measured with some digital verniers. I've got some belts, so now it's just going to be a question of feeding them onto this. The belt I actually chose in the end, and it's 66 by 3mm flat. I mean, I couldn't get 2.7mm, couldn't seem to find one. It's a very simple process to do. We've just got to thread the belt across the front here, round here, under this bridge, and then around the motor and back on. I'll reattach the motor, drop it back in, and then move on to the left hand side. There is an extra belt on the left hand side, which is for the tape counter. Hopefully should all be roughly the same job, but I'm just going to get on with it. I'm not going to record it all. It's very obvious what you need to do. Left hand cassette back in, and all seems to be working well. Belt fits nice, seems to have the right amount of tension. Time to move on to this side. I'll get this one out. Same procedure. Don't need to show you that, do I? If there's anything complicated or anything amiss, I'll show you, but as it is, I'll just get this belt fitted. The cassette drive with the tape counter, a little bit more awkward to get out. You do need to cut a few of the cable ties from down here, but you should be able to get it to this position, just slightly lifted, and gives you full access then to replacing the belts. Well, it's the same procedure for feeding the belt on here, no problem at all with that. The tape counter is a little bit different. You have to slip it through this gap here, and then it touches around the drive right there, and then the tape counter moves from there. Simple enough to do. Nothing needed desoldering, nothing needed taking apart. Just carefully remove the motor, put the belt on, by removing this screw, dropping this off, putting the belt under, putting this back on. Well, that went back together easy enough. no major complications. Just remember with this one that you've got to remove this connection here, and you've got to take this microphone socket off because it's holding the plate down there. Other than that, it's exactly the same procedure. 4 screws, lift them out, unscrew the screws, and put the belts on. Next job now is to put this back into that, and then this back into this, and this back onto that. Not a lot to do. Oh yeah, to reassemble. I don't know if you can see here, there's some pins here which must line up with these. And this connector just drops down in this bottom corner. So let's get that done. Tuck these wires away nice and tidily. Make sure we're not trapping anything. There's a question of getting there's some location lugs on here and here. Get it in place. And I wouldn't push down on there because the wheel on the back. And just locate it into place. That seemed to work okay. I wouldn't push down on there because obviously I'd have been putting pressure on this. And that seems to work okay. Let's just put the 4 screws back in, and that part's complete. Then we just got to drop it back into the top part of the casing and resolder a few of the wires. So the head unit's back together. All the screws are in place. Resoldered these connections and these ones over here. Pushed all the terminals on. The electric microphones, they just sort of hang loose and get pushed into the chassis. So there's no problem with those. One on each side. I'm getting a buzzing noise, a waspy now, driving me insane, but live and let live, eh? I'm not going to change the caps in this. It's really, I mean, my job, as far as I see it anyway, with buying this was to get it working, get both cassettes working, get the power switch working, get the turntable working. I think whoever wants to buy this, when I put it up for sale, wants to do a complete cap rechange, that's up to them, but there's just a lot of time, money to do it, and the unit's working at the moment, so it's something that will need to be done, but it's not something I'm prepared to do. So I'm going to get this put back on the main body. And again, it's the reversal of disassembly, so I'm not going to show doing all that. I'll just show you as the stages as it's going back together. Well, it's coming back together. Pushed all the connections on. This one here mainly, and there's 2 over there to do. Pushed in the electric microphones into there. This is the power supply lead, so I'm going to put this back on. And then it's time to give it a test, I think, and see if it's actually still working. I can't wait. Well, that's all back together. Move on to this tape, press play on this one. Yeah, that one's working fine as well. Well, the strange thing is about when you set the volume to 0, you can still hear the speakers. Something not quite right there, so I don't know. Well, it's 2 hours later. Stripped the whole unit down again. Got to the volume control knob, took it off. It's a BL50K S with a Loudness Tap. Not seen one before. Apparently it was quite common in the 70s for beat cancelling. So what I did, I basically opened it up by bending the lugs on it. Getting to the wiper and the carbon, cleaning it all for both sides because it's stereo. Put it back together, put it back in the unit, reassembled the unit, very basically to start with, just enough so I could know it worked, and it seemed to work, so I've put it all together now, and hopefully now we can do a proper and full test, and this does seem to be working okay now. So let's give it a quick test. Power button's now working. You can hear a nice little clunk. We're on FM. We've got the volume in it.
Did you know that was just the first you've heard of it? So what?
That's working.
A big weekend.
Okay. This cassette was not working before. So let's try the fast forward. It's doing that. Rewind. No problem. And if we select tape on here, let's play. Oh, bit of volume. Balance. That's fine. Let's press stop on that one. Try this tape unit. And play. And a bit of volume. Working fine then. So we've done the radio, done the tapes. Let's try the phone now. And I'll just randomly place it somewhere. Okay, let's put some volume. Even got it to play at the right speed. We did that with an app on the iPhone. You just place it in the centre and let it rotate, and you can just set the tune. Really simple to use, to be honest. I did buy a test tape, but it wasn't needed. So. But yeah, so it's all back together. I didn't do the cap change on it. I really didn't want to go to the expense of doing that. Really, I bought this cheap. It was a quick and simple repair of replacing the whole of the stylus and the cartridge for the arm, fixing the power button, fixing the volume control knob, fixing this tape player, and it's all working out. I'll give it a basic clean as much as I'm gonna. Next person who buys this, if they want to do the complete cap change, that's totally up to them, but it's not something I'm really interested in, to be honest. Went back together a lot easier than it came apart. And plays quite nice. It sounds alright. It'd be a nice little compliment to somebody's systems as a boombox. Well, I hope that's helped you in some way. Anyway, putting it all back together, putting the new belts on, fixing this volume control knob and this power button. And if you want to see any more, you'll have to look at some previous videos for the full dismantle.